My name is Mark Abraham, and I'll be hosting this webinar. Thank you for joining us this morning. Here at A&M Industrial, last year we initiated a program called A&M University, where we pulled everybody together and had technical sessions and a lot of vendors and experts come to talk about their products and solutions for our customers. This year, we've reinvented it as virtual A&M University, and this session today is part of that virtual A&M University. Today, hopefully you're on the right one, talking about workspaces in the post-COVID world, rethinking work and home office environments. Just a little bit about A&M before we start. For those of you who aren't as familiar, I wanted to share this one slide. We're very proud of our new interactive product guide you see here on the right. It can be downloaded as a PDF file highlighting some key products from our portfolio. What is unique is that they have links to more information, product videos, and in some cases, the ability to buy online. On the left, you see our buyer's guide, where you see the major areas of our focus. Today, we're going to talk about office layouts and ergonomics, but we also have experts on staff in safety, cutting tools and abrasives, mill supplies, tape and packaging, pipes, valves, and fittings, including steam generation and distribution, tools, fluid handling and hose assemblies, janitorial and cleaning supplies, including sanitizers and disinfectant, material handling and storage, and we also manage customers' inventories with our AIM inventory management program. For the past few weeks, we've been focusing more with our customers on the products and processes that make our employees safe and keep our facilities operating. We added a page to our website which highlights items that you may need to deal with the current COVID crisis, as well as a new catalog which you can view and download from our website. Feel free to go there after this webinar is over. Okay, so today's program is about workspaces, as we said. It's going to be led by two of our staff experts. Chris Rodriguez has been working in the material handling and storage solutions for over 15 years. Initially working for a manufacturer, Chris has been designing warehouse workspace solutions throughout the tri-state area and has become an expert in this area. Mike Hamilton has spent over 20 years working with corporations to provide ergonomic evaluations, training, and solutions. Mike partners with safety and facilities professionals to ensure a safe, healthy, ergonomic workplace for their employees. During the presentation, I'll be watching for questions as everyone will be on mute, and I may stop Chris or Mike along the way if there are any questions, and there will also be time at the end to answer any questions. With that, go ahead, Chris, you're on.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to be talking about our workspaces in the post-COVID world. And we have to start off by saying, wow, you know, how our world has changed. And now we need to adapt and get ready for what's next. So rethinking a safe and productive workspace. Over time, we will start to design differently. We are going to have to think about situations in which we need to keep everyone safe and how our environments would function correctly, and our lunchrooms and conference rooms would have to be adaptable. And we need to ask ourselves, can we social distance? Or do we have the proper number of employees available? These are some of the questions and that companies, employers need to start asking themselves if they haven't been already. What will be the parameters? Next, Mark. Are facility and office managers ready for change? Managers will need to take action in diverting congestion points and create new pathways and create clean offices. It will be a different mindset, but these are some of the things that we as employers are taking into consideration. Next. Rethinking open office concepts. This was the current trend that everyone was looking for rather than trying to obtain. But now we will need to start thinking differently. Barriers will need to be in place between coworkers. Existing cubicles will need to have extenders in place and create a more personal environment. Nowadays, implementing tabletop partitions will be a must. We need to look at the ways of traditional workspaces of the past and revisit having the personal quote-unquote office experience. Next. Upgrading our current work surfaces. In some of our environments, the traditional shop-top workbench will not work or exist anymore. We need to upgrade our work surfaces to ensure that proper cleaning can be done to them. We need to think about upgrading furniture to materials that are easy to clean. This particular picture you guys are looking at is a project that entailed a customer needing a stainless steel workbench to fit the bill. We also need to consider about converting our seating from non-fabric to vinyls, which Mike will go over later. We also need to think about companies having different finishes on their products. This particular one here, for protecting and storing parts, we need to consider organized high-density storage units to limit access, keep tooling secure and clean. This will help control which employees have access to certain tools, not that many hands across cross-contaminating items, and it helps keep you clean and organized. Next. We also need to start thinking about installation of new items if you haven't done so already. Install hand sanitizer stations along with wipe stations. We need to install proper work signage, keep things moving along the office. All of these new items will help against spreading of germs. We also need to think about wall storage for your masks and all. Everyone nowadays are buying all these PPE, but instead of having it laying around the office areas or workspaces, it needs to be well organized. Next, we have here our flexibility with mobile partitions. When we return to the workforce, whenever that may be, we need to start thinking about reconfiguring our offices that are currently not compliant. They need to establish compliant manufacturing spaces. We need to create spaces within current environments that can be offices, warehouses, plant areas, command centers, which are currently I'm working on now. And we just need to do a job for a customer in which we had to split up a trailer, a job site trailer, and giving it a multi-purpose use. So we can always think outside of the box and make things happen. Next. Plant leaders transition from pre-COVID to post-COVID. Here, I'm highlighting three particular items that I would like for us to focus on, which would be number one, we need to protect the workforce, and number two, manage risks to ensure business continuity, and three, drive productivity at a distance. Under protect the workforce, redesign for safety and build a dialogue with employees and keep them safe. By doing this, employees will feel engaged and they'll like to be informed. Under manage risks to ensure business continuity, we need to plan for a new process and reality. Plan for the what ifs. We never want to be caught off guard. And the last one, for all of our productive managers here, we need to think out of the box. We need to think as what's going to be coming up ahead. Keep things going. We need to know what is happening at the 50-yard line as well as the red zone. Next. Lunchroom, break rooms, and reconfiguration. In this slide, I'm trying to show us here where we have to redesign our current locations. This can be done with the reduction of chairs, adding new signage, scheduled cleaning, and occupancy restraints. What that means is some of our employers might have to create new lunch schedules for our employees so that they understand the importance behind it in regards to being safe. One of the things we can do is implement new refrigerators, assigning drawers to different departments and individuals throughout their spaces. This also gives limited access, but employees will feel safer and comfortable knowing that as employers, we're looking out for their best interest. Next. When returning to our work areas, depending on whether it's a warehouse or office, we need to consider our ventilation systems, or HVACs. You'd be surprised on how many things travel through there. Companies will need to amp up their ventilation systems to ensure that we have a cleaner air circulating throughout the office environment. By doing so, we also need to clean out the filters more frequently, have a scheduled plan in place for inspections, and at some point, we might even have to have our maintenance crew members trained and informed on how to perform these tasks. Next. Reducing touch points, guys. This is an area where we will need to actually, it's a mindset in which we need to implement and have employees understand that we need to minimize the no touching. So in regards to new entryways, new bathroom fixtures, what you're seeing here on the slide are a few high-speed doors. High-speed doors with sensors will limit the amount of physical touching that we'll need to do. Installing of these items in high traffic areas will reduce transferring of viruses and will create new behaviors moving forward. Next. So we come to the slide of virtual teams. Here's where Mike and I are kind of going to go over how the new mindset moving forward in regards to employees with flexible working shifts, employees working remotely, limiting the amount of physical interaction within the workspace. Employees with teams can become more productive, and we have to think about what the new norm is going to be. Mike and I have been implementing, educating our clients based off our experiences, and I believe this is where Mike is going to start to take over.
Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate it. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Mark, as well. So we've got a lot of different trends, a lot of different variables happening here, right? There's people getting ready to come back to work, and we also have essential and non-essential with regard to companies. A lot of companies have been open already that we've still been working with, getting out things that are essential in the economy. We're going to have companies preparing to bring employees back in phases, right? So it's not going to be everyone all at once. And they're also prepping to have a sizable contingent of their workforce staying at home, right? And that's going to work well on both ends for a lot of reasons. If you have less people at work, it means there's going to be better social distancing rather than bringing back the same amount of people all at the same time. And the more you have people working from home, which I think pretty much every company is doing, at least to a certain degree right now, they're going to be safer as well because they're home by themselves and not coming in close contact with others, right? I think most companies at this point, and I've talked to a lot of you that are on the call, are customers and companies that I've worked with for a long time, and those of you that I have not, I'm certainly looking forward to speaking with you. But a lot of companies have found in the last 3 months or so that their employees and their workforce do a pretty good job working from home, right? So there's not really that big of a need. Now, of course, you have people that are in production environments, things like that, but people that are working on the computer primarily and the telephone for most of the day, they can pretty well get that job done at home. That's going to be a better thing on both ends with people at home and at work. Next, please. So I just want to take a minute to go over a minute or two some of the basic ergonomic principles that really are relevant whether folks are at the office or at home. We're talking about different healthy postures and that type of thing, rather, whether you're, if you're working with your computer at home or if you're working with your computer in your normal workplace. So some basic ergonomic principles. I got my screen just went blank. Here we go. Okay, my screen just came back. Thank you, Mark. So we want to keep head and neck in line with the torso, right? Your head, neck, trunk facing forward in line with the monitor. Torso vertical or slight recline, 90 degrees or greater. I'm going to go over some of that also with seating postures a little bit later on. You want to have your back fully supported by the lumbar support in the chair. Shoulders relaxed and not elevated where you're lifting your shoulders up. You always want to have elbows closer to the body and not extended. A general principle with most ergonomic things is that we want to always try to reduce reaching and extending. Forearms parallel to the floor, your wrist and hands, forearms straight, not bent. We're going to go over that in some depth later as well. Thighs parallel to the floor, clearance underneath the desk as well with the feet and legs, and feet flat on the floor or supported by a footrest. Next. Okay, this is just a basic diagram most of us have seen in any type of ergonomic training that you've had over the years. It's really relevant, right? So it's showing a person sitting at a workstation. And talk about neutral wrist posture. Now this person's actually using what they call an articulating keyboard tray, which allows them to bring the platform that holds the keyboard and mouse closer, having the correct height for a wrist neutral posture. Sometimes people will just have their keyboard and mouse up on the desktop and you say, well, this is the right height for me so I can get that wrist neutral posture. The reason it's good and it's very beneficial sometimes, not in all cases, but sometimes to utilize a keyboard tray is because it's also allowing the end user to bring the keyboard and mouse closer to them. You're bringing it closer. Again, you're reducing that reach and extending your arms, and you're also allowing yourself to sit back in that 90-degree or greater trunk angle. As you see the woman here, being able to get that full lumbar support. Nice and easy to do that. You also want to have your monitor at the correct height. They're showing the person looking a little bit downward. So you typically want your eyes at or about the top of the monitor, slight angle. That allows you to easily glance down, see everything that's on the screen. 90% of people I've found in my experience of doing this for 20 years have their monitors too high. You walk around any office, you'll see people with reams of copy paper underneath their monitors, and the monitor's jacked up like 3 feet off the desk. It's really not good because you're going to tilt your head back to see the monitor. And if you're doing that for a long period of time, that's going to lend itself typically to some neck and shoulder strain. I want to go over the height and distance of the monitor as well. If you have had an ergonomic training over the years, the old guideline they used to say was that your monitor should be an arm's length away. Never really understood that because I guess that meant if someone had really super long arms, they had great vision and eyesight. And if someone's arms were really short, they couldn't see at all. Didn't make any sense to me at all. The real secret to that is there is no correct height or distance to the monitor for the entire day. When people come into the workstation early in the morning, they sit down, their eyes are fresh, sit there just like this lady in the picture. And as the day goes on, what happens? Our eyes become fatigued from looking at the screen all day. So you see by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, people craning forward, their neck craning forward to look at the monitor. So that's why it's good to be able to have the monitor. Sometimes with the flat panels now, people use different things like adjustable monitor arms, which can work in conjunction with the keyboard tray. So at a finger's touch, you can very easily adjust the height and distance of the monitor, which makes it much, much easier. Next. Okay, and this is just a quick one that shows you we're avoiding MSDs, musculoskeletal disorders, and some of the ailments that we can have if we're not working correctly. CPS, tendinitis, epicondylitis, trigger finger, muscle strains, etc. Next. This is a good slide here. I know it's a little silly looking with the cartoon, but what it's kind of showing is the difference between a correct posture and an incorrect posture. And I like this slide in this context because this is probably more what some people will be doing at home, right? You may not have a keyboard tray and you may not have a monitor arm. So it's kind of showing, even if a person doesn't have a great chair, if he's reaching, sitting back, he's leaning forward, closing that trunk angle to less than 90 degrees. Obviously, that's not a healthy posture. Not going to really benefit him too much. Neck is craned forward. Whereas if you're sitting closer, trying to minimize reach, upright in the chair, everything's directly in front, it's going to make it much, much easier for you. What I would say to people, and I'm assuming in large part, because I know I do the same thing when I'm at home, a lot of home evaluations, either virtually or having people tell me. I know a lot of people are working primarily with a laptop at home. So that can present a lot of problems. And what I recommend for that is if you are using your laptop as your sole computer, it makes it very difficult because the keyboard and where you're mousing is so close to the monitor that you end up in a kind of hunched over, hunched down type of posture. Not really healthy. If you use your laptop as your primary source, get an external keyboard that you can plug into the laptop and an external mouse that you can keep closer to you. And then you can put a monitor, riser, or anything that you can sit your laptop on to get it to the correct viewing height. And then you can sit back and work with the external keyboard and mouse, which will allow you to use much better ergonomic postures, and it's going to minimize reaching and the correct monitor height, which is going to benefit you much, much more. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, and so we want to promote movement and stretching to avoid musculoskeletal disorders. And there's a slide further down the road that I'll show you some stretches, but we've got reasons that we want to do this, right? When we talk about ergonomics and using healthy neutral postures, using healthy neutral postures reduces muscle strain and increases circulation. You see the exact same thing here with stretching. That's exactly what it does. We always want to increase flexibility, increase circulation, less muscle strain, increase your range of motion. It's going to reduce stress because you're moving more, and it's going to improve productivity. The worst possible thing that we can do is sit in the same static loading, sedentary posture for the entire day. We're humans, we're hunters and gatherers. We're not meant to sit still all day. We got to get up and move. And this is an actual PDF that I can get out to everyone. We have it on an emailable form, and I think everybody will get a copy of this presentation as well. But it's just, you know, there's maybe a dozen, 15 exercises on there that you can check out for yourself and do. What I always tell people when I do an ergonomic evaluation is no one is going to take time to sit and do every single one of these exercises, but do them according to your own needs. I always find that I spend a lot of time under normal circumstances, not now, but in normal circumstances, I spend a lot of windshield time driving around in the car from one customer to the next. Sometimes I get tight neck and shoulders, so I do exercises that I can stretch the neck and shoulders, loosen up those muscles. Some people might feel it in their wrist, you know, from overuse with the mouse, those types of things. So you want to do some wrist stretches, all different things on here. One thing I can guarantee you is that the more you stretch and the more you move around, the better you're going to feel at the end of the day, without a doubt. Next, please. Looking at what different types of pain, you know, can mean to you when you're feeling discomfort or pain at your workstation. Minor, doesn't really affect your ability to complete the activities. It can be occasional and not felt afterward. You have the ergo evaluation, ensure the ability to work in neutral postures. A lot of times people will tell me, you know, I feel something and then my wrist hurts a little bit or my neck, but then I go home over the weekend, it feels okay. Then I come back and usually by Tuesday or Wednesday the following week, I start feeling it a little bit. So that's when you're having it minor. But again, your body's telling you something, so it's best not to ignore that. We really want to do something. Let somebody in your company know so you can get an evaluation, have someone take a look at it, make sure that it doesn't advance to the next, which is moderate, persistent enough to alter behavior and performance, and you've got pain afterward. And then if it's severe enough, you know, you're unable to complete activities, and the pain is pretty steady during and after what you're doing, and you have to get medical treatment. Folks, I can tell you from the years of doing this, I've seen a lot of people that have had to get, for example, like surgery for the carpal tunnel syndrome and things like that. It's not something that you want to have to go through. Sometimes people don't even get back the full range of motion afterward, and that's just not something that you want to have to deal with. So you really want to try to incorporate a lot of stretching and movement throughout your workday, and make sure that you're set up with the right type of equipment that's going to allow you to utilize different healthy postures and avoid that pain and discomfort. Next, please. So again, we want to encourage the use of different postures. Now, this is what I talked about before, and we were going to talk more about the chair later. So I kind of break it down, the first three, into the chair. Your upright posture is what we saw in the picture with the lady was sitting upright, everything straight ahead, the monitor straight ahead, minimizing reaching. It's a very healthy posture. Again, all of these postures are healthy, but what happens if you sit in the same posture for half an hour? It becomes an unhealthy posture. So that's why we have to constantly change posture throughout the course of the day. Now, the forward-leaning posture, we usually say, gee, you don't want to do that. You don't want to close the trunk angle, but here's the key. You want to sit a little closer on the front of the chair, drop your knees. So you're still keeping that 90-degree angle. And again, this is a posture I'm only going to use for probably 5 or 10 minutes, but it's just to let you utilize a different posture and change the way you were working. But don't lean forward without dropping the knees lower. And then the recline posture. Now that's a posture you're probably not going to use when you're working on the computer because it's harder to reach things. But if you want to sit all the way back in the chair, you got a nice adjustable lumbar support. Maybe that's when you're reading documents, or you have, you know, some type of periodical that you're looking at, something on paper, or you're on the telephone and you can sit back in that reclined posture. Good to utilize all three and not stay in the same posture all day long. And then we talk about standing posture also, right? Everybody sees the new trend with people working with sit-to-stand workstations and those types of things. I'm a big proponent of them. For people that feel like it can help them, it certainly does allow you to utilize different postures. One of the biggest benefits for me is that when people are already in a standing posture, they're going to be more likely to stretch and get more movement because it's just simply hard to do that when you're sitting. We set up lots of different types of standing workstations for people. One thing I always caution folks is that sometimes we set them up and people are so excited. Oh, this is great. I got a standing workstation. I'm going to stand all day. Well, just like we shouldn't sit all day, nor should we stand all day. So we always have to be cautious with any of these things. Any healthy posture really shouldn't be utilized for more than 15 minutes, 20 minutes at a time, and then you switch to the next posture. So this sheet right here is just showing when I come on site to a lot of my customers, we'll just do a quick ergonomic evaluation, mark down folks what their symptoms are, if they're having any problems, any issues with their workstation, if they're using the right equipment, and a lot of times different safety departments will keep track of this and make sure that it's part of their ergonomic program for their company. Next. And when we talk about home office workstations, again, these are things that a lot of folks are asking about now because it can really, let's be honest, home workstations can sometimes be a disaster, right? We have people working at the kitchen table or sitting on the couch. You know, they're kind of loosely set up, right? The kitchen table, the spare room. The challenge is to get light workstations set up at home as we have when we go to our actual workplace. And hopefully we're going to be able to see a bigger focus on this moving forward, because my feeling is that a lot of companies, as I spoke about earlier, have seen that their employees have done a pretty good job of working at home, and it might be a long time, if ever, if some of these employees end up being back at the office, not only for safety reasons, but just because it makes more sense. So there are sit-stand workstations that are easily able to be used without installation or damage to furniture or anything, that sit right on top of the workstation. Chairs that you can adjust that are moderately priced, that really give you a good adjustable lumbar support, seat pan, arms, so you can make adjustments throughout the workday that make you feel better. And something like a monitor arm, like we spoke about earlier, that makes it very easy for you to, just with a finger's touch, adjust both the height and distance of the monitor, which makes it very easy. You know, folks, a lot of the companies that I'm working with right now, I've been able to partner with the safety and facilities folks and set up home workstation evaluations for people that are working at home remotely, whether it's through Skype or FaceTime or anything like that. We're able to actually look at the person's workstation, see how they're sitting, if they're having any issues, or they simply want to be proactive and make the workstation better for their day-to-day use. We're able to do that as well. So please make sure that you reach out to me and we can set those types of things up, because just because employees aren't actually physically at work at the office or the factory or the distribution center, we still want to make sure they're staying very safe when they're at home. So these are really good things to keep in mind, and we can definitely help you out with all these types of things. Thank you.
So,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Chris.
no, go ahead. So I'll say, so Mike and I, in closing thoughts, you know, at the end of the day, we want everyone to be safe, productive, and happy. You know, we're trying to create work environments, whether it be from your house, from your office, or on the plant floor. We need to make sure that our employees are engaged, feeling safe at work. Make it a comfortable place in which employees want to feel that, hey, you know what, my employers are looking out for my best interests. Whether that be having Mike set up a home office for you at your house, or having myself and our team go out and evaluate your current workstations or your workspaces. We have the team and capabilities to ensure that everyone is up to speed, trying to be as safe as possible, and enjoying the workspace. Mike, if you have any other thoughts or any last words you want to add to yours?
Yeah, the only thing that bothered me a little bit was that all those people that were drinking, I think that photo was taken at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday. It might not have been the best practice, but I guess it worked out all right.
So guys, I do have one question that was addressed. Let me read it to you. You can answer. And if anybody has any more, feel free to type it in the question area or raise your hand. The one question I have is there a list of work surfaces that are more appropriate to have for cleaning, and what may be a problematic work surface?
So to answer that, I could look to see if there is a list. I do know that in some of the environments that we've been currently working at, like your traditional shop top workbench, which will probably be made of that particle board material, which will have things absorb and sink into it. Those are not the type of work surfaces that you want to be looking at. In one of the slides where I was showing, we had a stainless steel workbench. that happened to be a project that Mike and I addressed together, in which the client was thinking about going in a different avenue with traditional wood tops, but we had to change it to work surfaces. So we could probably come up with a list that would be appropriate for have work surfaces that would be easy to be disinfected and cleaned.
And you know what? That's a great point, Chris. And I forgot to mention, you had started talking about it before. With the work surface, not only where people are working on the countertops and things like that, but with the seating. If anyone is planning on getting new seating, whether it's, you know, task seating or task chairs for folks, or even cafeteria seating, you know, guest chairs, lobby seating, stackable chairs, side chairs, any of that thing. A lot of my customers now are swapping out all of the fabric chairs that they have and replacing them with vinyl, simply because with the COVID, it's much harder to clean fabric chairs, and they're going to hold contaminants and germs much longer. Whereas with a vinyl or leather type of surface on the chair, it's much, much easier to clean and get everything clean for the next person. You know, if it's a joint work area, or even just for the same person using their task chair. So you want to think about those things as well when you're looking at seating.
Okay, great. It looks like there are no other questions right now, so we can close up. I do want to thank Mike and Chris for putting together this presentation. After this is over, everyone will receive an email from me with a copy of this presentation. If you have any other questions when you get that, you can let me know. And within a few days, we'll also be able to post the video of this presentation, so you can share that with coworkers or watch it again if that's what you would like to do. And I just want to make a public service announcement that next week we'll have another webinar. Next week's webinar is no scaffolder contact, no site visits due to COVID, no problem with Lobo Online, which is the alternative to scaffolding, and that'll be next Tuesday at 9 o'clock. I want to thank everybody again for coming, and with that, have a good day, everybody.